Great. Hi, welcome everybody. Welcome back to another Catharsis Healing Talk. Today we are going to talk about what the goal of these ancient teachings of Catharsis is. My name is Helmut. I am here with our good dear friend Laura Ketty. Hi, Laura. And of course, my wife, Kay.
Hi,
Kay,
everybody.
Kay Cadell Whitaker. Hi, Kay. And Kay is, for those new to our adventures, Kay is the author of The Reluctant Shaman and Sacred Link. And both those books are about years of her apprenticeship, her experiences through years of her apprenticeship with her two Peruvian adopted grandparents and teachers, Domano and Gia Hedeker. And as I said, today we're going to talk about the goal of the teachings of Catharsis, which Domano and Gia brought to the Western world. They taught Kay so she can teach everybody else. Ready to go, Kay?
Sure.
So what is the goal of these teachings?
The goal of these teachings. That's a real nail on the head kind of a question. That's good. The Hedekers and the ancient predynastic Egyptians are very similar in a lot of their beliefs and their teachings, their ways of thinking and living. They both taught that we are at the end times. We're at the end of a big cycle. What a lot of different cultures call the end of a world, an era. And that means there's a new one that's about to start here. So we've come to the end. And according to the way they talk about this end of the world that we know, it's their picture of it is described as a backwards turning wheel. Sometimes I would say upside down and backwards turning wheel world. That's because it's based on the energy of this upside down and backwards energy. That's what our whole world, current world that we know, that we grew up in, that we've been perpetuating, that's what it's built on. That's what all of the major ideas, concepts, beliefs, their whole way of thinking about what the world is, what Earth is, what humanity is, what the rest of the life on the planet is all about, and what it has to do with us. Their thinking about it, their beliefs about it, is that there's a hierarchy there. And humans are at the top of the hierarchy in this belief. Everything else is just different grades of being less than and less than and less than and less than important and less valued. So when we think about the end of this world, all these values, these beliefs, these ideas that have created the world the way we know it, with all of its destruction and all of its violence and degradation of everything else that's around us, this is all going to come to an end. It's already started. From their point of view, it has ended. We have reached the hallmarks that describe this world is done, it's gone. Now this backwards turning wheel energy, this whole culture, whole planetary culture really is one that as this wheel turns, it's rolling and rolling as it has through history, and as it turns, it destroys everything. It ruins and destroys everything in its path, everything that it touches, everything that is within eye shot of this wheel turning. And it destroys itself as that wheel turns. That's the nature of the energy. It's the only thing it knows. It's the only thing it can do is to take apart. So when you've based an entire culture on this energy, everything is about taking things apart and being separated. And everything is about destruction in one way or another, one level or another. All of the things you look around, all the things that we have created in this culture, they're based on very destructive concepts and values and beliefs. And most importantly, this belief that humans are at the top of this hierarchy, up way up the ladder at the top. We are the most important and the most valuable, and everything else is not. And everything else, it's okay to just destroy it, to sacrifice it for our benefit. So that's all about just us humans benefiting at the expense of all kinds of other. The dirt, the soil, the water, the plants, the air, the animals. And humans haven't paid attention to it, but it's at the expense of humans as well. Human health and human happiness. And we're just demolishing everything in every aspect of life that you can think of. Our actions in it are actions that end up hurting and ruining and destroying whatever we're trying to work with or work around or work for. So that backwards turning wheel culture is coming to an end. And one of the biggest goals of Katasi and the predynastic Egyptian teachings is that it comes to an end swiftly and easefully and with the least amount of destruction and harm and pain to everything and everybody. In the Hedekas and the predynastic Egyptian way of thinking about things, everything is of equal value. Everything is, there's nothing better than, nothing more important than, all equal importance. But there is no hierarchy. The hierarchy is something that we made up, the humans made up. It's a made up belief. And it's a real kingpin in holding all of these beliefs together. So with the concepts from Katasi and the concepts from the ancient Egyptians, that there is no hierarchy. Nothing is more valuable or important than anything else. So the sand, the dirt, the the rich soil of a garden or the forest, the trees, the plants, the bugs, the microbes, the air, the oxygen we breathe, the water, our whole atmosphere, the things that hold our atmosphere in place. All these things, they're all of equal importance and equal value. When we start to try to think that way, to understand what that really means and how we have gone against those concepts for so many centuries, millennia. Yeah. And we've just kind of compiled more and more and made it more complex and more destruction, more destructiveness. We have the atom bomb, the H bomb. It's, when you think about it, it's predictable that we'd figure out things to do and to make in our technologies that just continue to get more destructive, like our electromagnetic frequency usage, the way we create it, the way we use it, the way we use the different frequencies and groups of frequencies, patterns of frequencies. We pick the ones that are really destructive to everything and everybody, like our new 5G, our gigahertz signals. They're more destructive than any of the other EMF that's come along before it that we've created. They just keep getting more destructive. And all of this has to end. It is ending. We've seen the tail end of it. And one of the things that the ancients have said about this time where this old world is ending, and we're now in a kind of bridge time before the new world really starts getting built and people start thinking what they want for a new world, how they want that to be. We're in the bridge time. This is the time to figure all that stuff out. So here we are, and we still have a number of these technologies in operation. We still have the people who placed these things in operation, in power and in wealth. They're diminishing with every day. Their power and their wealth and their influence is diminishing. And as that happens, they get more and more fearful because they sense, they know what's coming. And they don't want that to happen. What the ancients say is that at this time, where this world is ending, and we have the bridge that we're standing on in the middle between the worlds, that big wheel is turning and turning, and as it destroys itself, it's falling apart. The chunks are falling off. And through the last many millennia, we've been picking up the chunks that fall off and try to shove them back in the wheel and plaster them in, cement them in, super glue them, and try to make them work some more, make them work longer. Well, they've done that so long and they've been falling apart so completely that you can't really do that anymore. And they always said that you can't build this new world, this world based on this equal value, equal importance, based on love and knowledge, feeling, and heart and song. based on our connectedness and our communities of this connectedness and aliveness and sharing, never doing things, thinking of things that would benefit us, but at somebody or something else's expense. Those things aren't going to exist in the new world. So we have to figure out how to do that. How do we create that? How do we make that? They warn us to don't even try to pick up the old pieces of the old world and shove them back together to make a new wheel, because it's just going to be the same old thing, only worse. So where the garbage falls off the wheel, let it be, let it fall, and aim your attention at building a new world. What do we want to see in this new world? Their goal, the ancients' goal for the new world, is that we leave everything behind of the backwards turning wheel. Everything, all the blind beliefs, all the concepts, all that hierarchy, all the personal gain at the expense of other, all that control, dominance, power over other, violence, warring, stealing, leaving it all behind because we're done with it. We've experienced it for a long time. We've been learning from that. It hasn't been total lack of value, because us, the true us, what we call our song, our spirit, that which continues to live after the body dies, has been having many, many, many lifetimes, not just this one, but many, 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 many. And all through our history, we've been having lifetimes. We've been experiencing this backwards turning wheel culture from many different perspectives so that we can understand it as completely as possible. And we can understand what we need to leave behind and what we need to aim for. So the goal of the ancients is that we aim for the love, for the beauty, harmony, peace, equality of every kind, connectedness to each other as humans, to between the humans and the trees and the plants and the soil and the dirt and sand and rocks, between us and our water. We have no idea how incredibly valuable water is, how alive it is. We've been taught through the backwards turning wheel that water is just another thing that we can use and destroy at our gain and the water's expense and the expense of everybody else. We need to value all of these things, the air and the oxygen. We have less oxygen in our atmosphere than we've had for many, many, many millennia. And since this last world has been rolling itself into place and doing things for personal gain at the expense of other and all this inequality, we have created this belief of the lack of value of things like water and our soil and our air, the oxygen and the plants and trees, all the animals, so many different animals and bugs, microbes. We just horrendously disvalue all of them, all of that. And the truth is, all of it is incredibly valuable, incredibly important, incredibly beautiful. Even all the microbes. Not all the microbes are going to poison you or kill you. Most of them help keep you alive. They are what is maintaining your life in this physical form. We need to respect them and honor them and think of them as sacred. Think of all these things as sacred. The water, the air, everything, the soil. We've lost so much soil. Beautiful, rich, living, vibrant soil on the planet, all over the planet. But we can revive it. And it doesn't really take very long to do it either. We can do that. We have the technologies, the knowledge to do it. We have the technologies, we have the knowledge to clean up all the garbage we've thrown everywhere. And these are the places where we need to start. We need to start thinking about this and figuring out, how do we do these actions without causing more harm and more hurt, and these actions being at the expense of something or somebody else. We need to, as the Edicas would say, dream a new dream. We have to dream up the dream of what the world is that we want. What kind of a world, what kind of a planet, what kind of a humanity, what kind of a culture do we want? We have to rethink every single aspect. We have to rethink schooling, education, government, medicine, healing, food, nutrients, food, growing food. We have to rethink every aspect of our culture. So that's the goals of these ancients from Peru and predynastic Egypt. And I know from many, many other very, very ancient cultures, these were the teachings that were on the planet before this era, this world started. And there have been groups of people, some whole cultures, whole tribes, who have tried to preserve it, teach their young, and keep it going and keep it pure, so that we never ever lose this knowledge off of the planet. And they always said that this modern culture, the people of the modern culture have dangerously lost all of this knowledge. That's why they're able to create all this destruction of everything around them, including themselves, and without blinking an eye. No guilt, no remorse. Very psychopathic. We have to heal this. And it means learning a whole new way of believing and thinking. In the backwards turning wheel, we have hierarchy, which brings judgment. Everything that's at the top of the hierarchy, top of that ladder, is better than, it's good, it's what we all strive for. Everything that down that ladder is less than, and less than, and less than. And so we have a culture just completely built on those concepts. We train our children about this better than and less than, and try to ensure that they strive for what the culture says is the better than and the best, and everything else is less, lower than, unworthy, unvaluable, worth stepping on, worth throwing your garbage on. We have to change that. That's the goal. That's the goal of the ancients, and that's our goal. So I hope that is helpful and maybe inspiring.
Thank you, Kay. Thank you.
You are most welcome. It is my honor and my privilege to be able to pass this on, as was the wish for so many generations, that this knowledge be passed on and shared, not at the expense of anybody, shared.
Okay. We take some questions if there are any. For the people joining us, thanks for being here. And if you have questions, use there should be a Q&A tab somewhere.
There is.
So if you have questions, type them in. We usually set about an hour aside for this. Any thoughts, Laura?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. What you got?
Well, I kept thinking about why I came across the studies, and why I came to study. But it's not the same reasons I stayed. I came to study to learn about myself and spirit abilities. But I stayed in the studies because, well, one, you offer me more than I could find anywhere else. There is, the more to just being human. And it just, like, one of the things you said at the very beginning about humans thinking they're so much better, that they are higher species and they're more important than anything else on the planet. And it's both the thing that I think is upsetting other humans. It's very, the human race to the human race, humans right now don't consider other humans good. There's a very negative belief about being human right now, that there's really this undertone of still being better than and more important than. And yet, it's just because I've been studying with you for almost a decade, I know more, and I know such a small part about human potential that the majority of people don't even know they have. Yet they think, it's just, it's fascinating to me how we got here. That we could have this arrogance without even understanding that we are 1/100th or 1/300th or 1/1000th of what our potential is. And ultimately finding our potential is this balance and connecting to everything else. Because it's a whole lot more amazing than what we think it is too. So those are my small thoughts.
Very true. And it is the path to creating, finding, developing the potential that's inside every human. It is astounding, the potential of what we have, the gifts that we have in our DNA, in our beingness, in our energetic blueprint, in our heart, our song. We could talk about it. We could start listing some fantastic things, and some people might believe you. Some, feel like it's wishful thinking, but they'd like to sit along and wishful think with us because it feels good, wishing it was true. But the fact is, it really is true. The fairy tales that we have, and stories that we have from ancient times, where there's people who have these incredible abilities, and we think those are fairy tales. It's all made up, to make a nice story. It's no. Those are historical stories. Those are people who have achieved those things. They've achieved it by turning away from everything that has to do with the upside down, backwards turning wheel, and that energy in those cultures that are built out of it. All the blind beliefs that we've been taught in this culture that come from that. You turn away from it. You let go of it. You unlearn it. There's a saying that you need to forget everything that you've learned in order to start really learning and experiencing. And it's very true, and it's very, very much part of the ancient teachings. You have to forget all the things that you think you know, and that you think are real and you think are true, because it isn't. It may be a few things in there that there's a little edge of something sort of true there, but it got really distorted. It got hijacked and distorted and clouded up, turned into something that it isn't. So we need to throw away all of those things that we learned, all the things we think we know, that we think are true and we think they're real. It all needs to be re-examined from a really, really base place, a core place, a foundation place. And that's what the ancient teachings provide. That, in a nutshell, is the goal or goals of the ancients and in these teachings. We need to throw away the old, throw away everything that has to do with the upside down and backwards turning wheel energies. Everything that came out of that. And when you do that, all of a sudden you perceive on all kinds of different levels and with different sensory inputs, you perceive more and more of what really is about yourself, about health, about the world around you, sciences, the spirit senses, as you mentioned, the energetic things, love, what love really is. The upside down, backwards turning wheel talks about love, but it's always extremely conditional and very narrow and very shallow and very self-serving at the expense of other. It has nothing to do with real love. When we shove all that dark stuff away, out of our field, out of our view, out of our mind, then we can start to touch what real love is and experience it for ourselves in its fullestness, its fullest beauty. We perceive the beauty of everything around us, the beauty of ourselves, the beauty of other people, no matter how different they are. Their beauty is endless. The beauty of everything around us on the planet and out into the solar system and the universe, that beauty is utterly endless. And it's built on love. It is love. And it brings with it these concepts of peace and equality and connectedness and sharing, deep friendship, deep caring, sharing friendship. From the upside down, backwards turning wheel energies and culture, we don't have any idea what real friendship is. All our concepts are based on what's in it for me, self-serving thoughts and behaviors and ideas at the expense of other, ideas of inequality, better than, less than, and that judgment that comes with them, this condemnation. Judgment meaning condemnation, throwing ugly black energy darts at other. That's what the ancients mean by judgment. We have to throw it out of our lives and out of our mind and out of our heart and out of our way of thinking and being. Throw the hierarchy and the judgment out. And that starts to open the window, open the door to something so much bigger and brighter and more beautiful and fulfilling, enriching, nourishing. That's what the goals are.
Nice. We got a couple of questions.
Thanks, Kay.
Thank you. What does a day of awakening and healing, valuing the planet and all that is alive, look like?
Well, we can
Remember, we gonna not go past an hour.
I have to give an edited version.
Thanks for the question. That's great.
That's a good question. We can begin to get glimpses, get ideas of what it could be like by just the things that we've talked about here in this video so far. And if you keep thinking about them and aim that in the direction of a particular part of life that you want to imagine, what would that look like? What would my family life look like with all the backwards turning wheel stuff gone, and the judgment and the jealousies and envies and the bitterness and the fake love and fake connectedness? Just take it all out and remove it from the picture. What's there? What's there is what is real. What's real? When we start to remove these dark things out of our mind and out of our way of thinking and perceiving, then it's like washing the window or opening the door and stepping outside. The Edicas would say, cracking a hole in your box and sticking your head out and looking around and seeing the world for real, for what it is. We're the ones, each one of us is going to be responsible for thinking and feeling and exploring this very question. It's going to be based on love, real, true, unconditional love, and unconditional acceptance of everything and everybody for exactly who and what they are, without expecting them to be something different. Removing this judgment, when we can just take a whole day, try this as an experiment, take a whole day without a judgmental, condemning thought, a better than, less than thought about anything or anybody. See if you can do that. See if you can go a whole day. As you do that, take note of the judgments that you notice that you're making subconsciously, automatically. Demano used to joke about how we even judge toilet paper. We're going down the toilet paper aisle in the big grocery store, and we're looking for our favorite brand. And we're literally judging and condemning the others as we pass them by as less than. They're no good because of this or that, or just because, or we don't like their label, or we don't like their advertisement on TV, or you used somewhere and it was scratchy. All kinds of different things. A lot of it doesn't have anything to do with real experience. It's just condemning, judgment, black darts. And then we find our toilet paper and we pick it up and put it in the cart and off we go. And meanwhile, we've left this cloud of energetic judgment, garbage, yuck, just floating there in the toilet paper aisle and soaking into all the toilet paper that's sitting there. That's what those energy clouds do. They can soak into the floor, the walls, the toilet paper, people. So try that. And maybe the next day you try it again. And you try it again, and you try it again, and you try to get better at it. Stop yourself when you first feel the judgment popping up into your thoughts. You can feel that in your body, the ugliness, the sickness of feeling the judgment. You're judging something else. It actually makes you sick, as well as everything else that you've thrown the garbage at, the darts at. It makes that, all of that sick. So that's a very good exercise and a great thing to start with and keep up for years to come, because it's surprising how deeply embedded these blind beliefs and ideas are from our culture, like judgment, this better than, less than of things, of living things, trees, plants, people, especially people, how we have degraded, devalued all of these things, even our water, our air, the food we eat, if you look at it from this different perspective, everything changes. All of a sudden, junk food looks like garbage and poison and junk and really, really, really bad things that shouldn't exist, let alone put in your body. When you can get judgment out of the way, then you could see the beauty of things. We've had all of those bad food products, junk food stuff for decades now. We've been consuming it, we've been living with it, we've been getting sick from it. We know a lot. We've learned, we've experienced a lot about it. And we can let it go now. We can let all that kind of stuff go and look at it for what it really is. The Headache has talked about the backwards turning wheel judges, condemns, throws dark energy darts at things. In the new culture, and the way the Hedicas lived themselves, they literally, this is the way they lived. They didn't have a word for judgment and condemnation. It's not in their language, but they do discern. They can discern a poisonous plant, honor it, love it, and walk on by. Just don't eat it because it's poisonous. They discern that and they value that. They honor it. They still give love to the plant. In our modern culture, what the Hedicas said to me was, we see what we know as a poisonous plant that's in our yard. Oh my God. We have to tear it out by the roots and burn it or destroy it, throw it in the garbage. We're judging it, we're hating it, we're throwing the energy, black energy darts, condemning the whole species. And it isn't less than, it doesn't deserve that. It deserves to be discerned so that it doesn't hurt us. The plant doesn't want to hurt us. It isn't trying to poison us and poison our whole family or the pet dog or cat in the yard. It's existing. It's its own having its life, its aliveness, and living out its life cycles and doing its thing. And that is exquisitely beautiful if you stop and look at that. But what our culture does, we react on automatic pilot. We've been trained to do that, trained to hate and judge and tear the poison plant out by the roots and do everything we can to get it out of our reach and our sight. And then go wash our hands really, really good and throw the clothes in the laundry before it poisons us. Very different ways of thinking and living. The ways of the new world are peaceful. Peace, harmony, connectedness, cooperation, deep, unconditional love and unconditional acceptance of everything, everybody, for exactly what they are, who they are, where they are, what they do. Not expecting them to be or do anything else, but honoring who and what they are and the diversity that they have in this world. Our world needs diversity. The universe loves diversity, but without diversity on our planet, we aren't going to exist long. So we need to honor all these different diversities among everything and everybody. True respect and honoring, acceptance with love. That is what they would call the song way of living. The truth of who and what we are, which the Hedekas call our song. And that's our, some people would say it's our spirit or our soul. It's what lives on after the body dies. That is who we really are. That's our real identity. And all this knowledge, all this way of being and existing is in our song. We've experienced it before for countless eons, countless eons that we have been in existence and had many, many lifetimes in all kinds of different places and planets and parts of the universe, and being a little of this or a little of that for a while as an experience, a lifetime experience. We've had a lot of human lifetimes, and we've learned from all of them, learned immense amounts of things. Our song understands true love, real, unconditional love, and peace, and the connectedness to everything. How we are connected to everything and everybody all the time, no matter what. And all this love and life energy and information and healing and all these things are given back and forth and shared and received in this connectedness to each other, to everything, constantly, with peace and love and gratitude. The new world is a world with gratitude. It's knowing how to be consciously and deeply heart-centered, grateful and thankful to everybody, everything, ourselves, everything. Grateful to the aliveness of everything. Those are things that will be part of the new world. Things that will be a base, a core, a foundation. To take action that is going to benefit ourselves, of course, but benefit all other, never at the expense of anybody or anything else. It takes some thought, some imagining. It's just time to wake up your imagination. Imagination is a really, really good thing. And the old world has demonized imagination, taught kids to not try to imagine things or use their imagination or play with their imagination, dream up new things. Even some of the religious beliefs on our planet have followed this backwards turning wheel energy and demonized imagination. That's what we're stepping out of. We're leaving that behind. Leaving it behind. It fell off the wheel. It's broken. It didn't work in the first place. Don't pick it up. Don't try to bring it with you to the new world. Dream up new things from what you perceive and experience when you pop out of the box, when you've taken off all of this upside down, backwards turning wheel energy, the culture, the programming, all those blind beliefs. Take them out and let them go. They're dying. Most of it has died. We're experiencing the remnants. And the ancients said these remnants of the old culture that are hanging on get louder and noisier the farther we go, the weaker they get, the noisier they get. And you can see that around you. The more desperate they get, the more they try to con us, to control us, to believing in that upside down, backwards turning wheel and all the garbage it is and represents and has been. Don't go there. Don't believe them. See them for who they are, what they are. Love them anyway, but don't trust them and don't believe them. You can still give them love. You can still love the garbage pile, even though it is detrimental to our health and the health of the planet. But if we love it, we give it love anyway, we'll find more ways of cleaning it all up that won't hurt anybody or anything, and will be much faster than other ways that we might try to be cleaning all that stuff up. Hope that helps.
You made it inside an hour.
Ooh, do we still get more questions?
Well, there are more, but I really don't want to go over an hour. I want to stick to that. There's
Do you
one.
want to? Oh, I'm sorry.
There's one follow-up from a couple of follow-ups, but to the initial question. So is it a matter of changing our perspective today? Because how you see a thing is how you experience a thing. Technically, nothing changes except one's perception.
Well, that's the first experience, the first step, the first change is our perception. But when you do change your perception and you're now perceiving whatever you're looking at differently, things change because of that perception. You change it. Your changed perception. You took out the judgment, the hatred, and the belief in the hierarchy, the better than, less than, and you're perceiving something very differently now. You're connected to it. We're connected to everything. And as you do that, you are literally changing what you are perceiving. And you're changing everything else all the way around you that has to do with that perception. And others that you're connected to, and you're connected to everything and everybody, they're going to get that information from you energetically about your new perception and your new experience. And they'll have the opportunity to experience it that way too. You change many, many, many things by changing your perception. And that's the first step.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks
That's
for
such a
joining us.
Beautiful question. And I thank everybody else for their questions and their comments and being here and listening. And I'm sorry we're not getting to those questions right now, but we'll try to find a way to get to them later.
All right.
Okay.
If you want to join us in the future, for those that are listening to this later, katase.world/live. That's where you can join our healing talks. And we're going to do a lot more of those. Next week, we probably going to skip again because we have a big class, but we'll be back the week after. Okay. Happy days. Thank you.
Have a beautiful
you.
day.
Thank you, Kay.
Love
Thank
you
you,
all.
Laura. Love you.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Helmut.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.